my fellow Americans and citizens of the world. I want to have a little bit of a discussion with everyone. We'll start with my fellow Americans. We, the people of the United States of America, in order to form a more perfect union, that should tell you something. That should still mean something to you all. We have the ability to control our government and the nonsense that they keep doing, because obviously the Democrats and the Republicans, they're the ones who are dividing the country because they want to be partisan. The Democrats want the Democratic things, the Republicans want the Republican things. So I'm addressing we, the people, not a Democrat, not a Republican, not an African American, not a Latino American, not an Asian American, not a Native American, not a Caucasian American, because we're all the same. We're Americans. We love our country. And our government is not doing and living up to their expectations, taking care of us, especially in this time of pandemic that we're in right now, which we all should be focused on. I understand that Black lives matter, but so do white lives, so do Asian lives, so do Latino lives, so do Native American lives, so do Russian lives, so do Jewish lives, and on and on and on. But in the time that we're living in now, COVID-19 doesn't really care what race you are. It will take you out. Doesn't matter what your religion is, what your race is, or what your skin color is. And until we as human beings and humanity start seeing things as bland, not a skin color, not a race, but as another human being, brothers and sisters. Number one, we all share the same genetic material, period. That's a fact. Something that everyone seems to forget. So let's quit disseminating and start being held accountable. Let's teach our young people the differences between right and wrong, and our history and the atrocities that we've had in our histories, so that we don't make those same mistakes again. Doesn't mean they didn't happen. Doesn't mean that they shouldn't be warranted and still thought of. But that should be the process thought of. Not every time something bad happens, something that happened 155 years ago gets thrown in your face. So with that being said, if we really want to do the atrocity things, let's start from the beginning. Let's start from Plymouth Rock and invading a country and kicking its people off its lands and putting them forcing them onto little parcels of land called reservations. Those would be the Native Americans. That was an atrocity. We should learn from that and make sure that never happens to any other people in this world. Then we have slavery. It happened. The thing is one race wants to hold another race accountable when it was actually that race's own people who were selling them to the other people for money profit because they were greedy, just as the other race was greedy because they were making a profit off of another human being. Nobody should ever have to go through that. What an atrocity. World War II, dang near genocided a whole race of people, the Jewish people. That should never, ever have been allowed to happen. And the reason it does happen is because we become too self-consuming with ourselves. Oh, well, it's not happening to me and my family, so it must not really be happening. Oh, it's happening. It darn sure is happening. Or this white cop shot this African American gentleman, or this African American cop shot this white gentleman, or this Asian gentleman, or this Native American gentleman, or this white cop shot this African American, or this Asian American, or this Latino American, or this Native American. Those are atrocities, yes, but they have to be taken on a case-by-case basis. All law enforcement officers are not bad. Those that are, we need to find them, weed them out, and hold them accountable. And as far as accountability, we, as humanity, need to be held accountable. We need to raise our children to remember to respect law enforcement. It doesn't matter if you agree with what they're saying or what they're doing or pulling you over. You treat them with respect and a yes sir or a yes ma'am. And if they tell you to stop, you stop dead in your tracks. If they tell you to put your hands up, you put your hands up. The problem with today is everybody feels they have the right to talk back when an officer that, well, you're wrong, I wasn't doing anything wrong. And there is a time and a place to vent your grievances, and that would be to the judge in a court of law. Yeah, is it inconvenient because you get arrested? Well, heck yeah, it is. But is a DUI really worth dying for? No, it's not. Whereas if you go with the program, even if you are wrong and you're still being mistreated, you still get to voice that grievance that you were mistreated, especially with the operations of body cams now, which in my belief, should the government make it mandatory for all law enforcement officers and officials to have body cameras on them? Yes. And on at any time that they are on duty or out in the public. Because even though when they are off the clock, if they are out in public, they are still an acting agent of a law enforcement entity. So if something goes wrong, by their credo, they are supposed to lend a helping hand, which involves sometimes using lethal force. And if you're entrusted to use lethal force, you should be above reproach on any scale, whether it be race, whether it be money, whether it be anything. That's why I've always said that we're entrusting people who can take lethal force and enforce it, but we're not holding them to the same standards that we will hold a CEO or someone else that has a doctorate degree, an 8-year degree. They need to go and be trained on how to handle certain situations so that they can de-escalate a majority of the percentage. There, I get it. You know, there are some, you know, and this not just for law enforcement, this is humanity in general. There are some great people out there. There are some good people out there. But there's also some very despicable and people who just want to do evil out there. That's a fact. But you cannot throw a blanket over all of humanity and say we're all bad. Just like you can't throw a blanket all over all law enforcement and say all law enforcement is bad. So we need to hold one another accountable. We need to teach our children, our young people, the values and morals that need to be to make this a better society. And that's not just for the United States. That's not just for any one particular part. That's for humanity in total. In order for humanity to become great, we're going to have to quit seeing skin color. We're going to have to quit seeing race. And we're going to have to quit being judgmental. I don't believe that's happening anytime soon. But in order for us to be great human beings and humanity to be great, that's what it's going to take. Quit with all the judgmental things. I mean, we don't know what our neighbors having a bad hair day that day, or what they had going on that day. Maybe something one of their parents died. Maybe they had a child that died. But we want to sit in judgment. So, with that being said, I want to get back to the United States citizens, United States of America. We, the people of the United States of America, in order to form a more perfect union, we are being like lambs. We are being shepherded into a herd, the shepherds being the government, us being the herd, because we are told we are the law, this is the way it's going to be, and you're going to abide by what we say. That's not the law. We are their bosses. We have the right to remove them from office if they are not living up to our expectations or living up to their words that they made promises in their campaigns. There's a little clause, and of course the government's not going to let you know about it. It's called a recall referral. And it was implemented just for that fact. Our forefathers had the fruition to figure out that, yeah, government officials, sometimes some of them are going to think they're above the law and they can get away with whatever they want to get away with. But we, the people, actually do control our own destiny and our own government if we wish to do so. With that being said, it's not easy. You have to petition. You have to gain signatures. And none of that's going to be easy. But anything that's great and good that's going to happen usually never is. But it's there for our use. If we, as United States citizens, the people of the United States of America, not Republican, not Democrat, not left wing, not right wing, not a race, not a skin color, the people, my fellow Americans. We have to band together as masses. If you want to remove a mayor, then you have to do that in your locality. If you want to do a senator or a representative or a congressman or a commissioner, everything is done based on demographic. If it's a locality elected official, then you do it in that locality. If it's a mayor or a commissioner or anybody who's been voted, duly electedly voted into a position, we have the right to remove them if they're not doing what they said they were willing to do, or abuse of their power, or they're just flat a bad person. A governor, you take, or a lieutenant governor, or a representative, or a senator, or something like that, same rules apply. The only thing difference is you do it by the state. But until you can get everybody in your state to get along and go, hey, listen, this is just not working for us. You're not doing what you said. You're not doing what's in our best interest. You're doing what's in your best interest, or what your party's best interest. So if you want to remove a Nancy Pelosi, or if you want to remove a sitting president or a vice president or a speaker of the House or a congressman or a senator or a governor or any of those, you can do that. There is a system in place to do that. But we have been led by our shepherds, the government. I tried to keep things in layman's terms, to believe that no, you don't have no recourse. What we say is final law. No, it's not. We are your bosses. And personally, as their boss, I think they all should be fired. I think we need, number one, more education, so that the people that we do put in office, again, are educated, so we don't go back and make some of these same mistakes that's been being made all along. Number two is, it's time for fresh blood. We have people who have sat in office way too long. Those jobs were never meant to be lifetime appointed or elected jobs. You were to be elected, serve your constituency, and then return to the private sector as a citizen of the United States. Because in our Constitution, it specifically states that no one is entitled or can hold an entitlement or be crowned a king or a queen or anything else. Our Constitution is pretty cut and dry. If you go read it, it's all there in black and white. And yes, it was written a long, long time ago, and a lot of it applies. Howsoever, what has come to fruition out of that is they made amendments to the Constitution. You have to read those as well to know, that it says that, no reparations, which means no repayment or dues, or anybody can seek monetarily damages for slavery and servitude, and there was another thing in there. I want to say that was Article 3, Section 8, something like that. But either way, you have to know your Constitution. You have to know your amendments. You can't just go in there and fire off random. Well, I just don't like them because I don't like how they speak. You're not going to get anybody out of office for that. howsoever. If they are sitting in partisanship, Nancy Pelosi, and trying to harm another individual or another party, or even someone within their own party for their own gains, that's a no-no. That serves neither me nor you. What that really creates is dissension. And that's basically what we have now. I mean, the Democrats can't even agree on 90% of the stuff that they come up with. Neither can the Republicans. So how do they expect to unite the people? They can't, because they can't even unite themselves. So it's up to us to unite ourselves and then reunite our government under our tutelage, not the other way around, because that's not the way it's going to work. And that's not the way our forefathers wanted it to work. They always wanted the people to have their voice in what was going on in their country. But in the evolution of time, then we had government officials, and obviously some of them are pretty daggum smart, and that's the thing with even with calling the recall referral. Some of them are pretty smart. They're going to fight it. They're not going to go down easy. And a lot of them have long arms and little fingers into everything and everyone. So, like I said, it wouldn't be easy, but nothing good and great ever is. But it can be done, because the American spirit will not die. We will not, to quote a quote from Independence Day, the original one, we will not go silently into the night. So that's really what I wanted to, it's been bugging me since 4th of July. So I thought I would get on here and try to address everyone. And as far as humanity, and that's for our citizens of the world, and that would be Russia, China, Japan, Ukraine, everywhere in the world, North America, South America, Asia, all the continents. For you guys as well, for us to become great humanity, we have to quit seeing and judging based upon race, skin color. We all share the same genetic materials. That makes us all brothers, sisters, cousins, 100th cousins, whatever. We have shared DNA, period, worldwide. You're not the exception. You don't stand alone. You share some of the same traits as other people in other parts of the world. We as Americans share traits with people all around the world. So let's be accountable. Let's teach our young people, and let's teach them the history so that we can avoid the atrocities of the past, and so we don't make some major atrocity coming in the future. So I'm talking to the leaders of every race around the world. Hold your people accountable. Do not blame somebody else for your situations. Things happened in the past. That's called history. That's why people of today use as a tool, most of us. I understand there's other countries that don't. Those are not who I'm talking to. I'm talking to the real people of the real citizens of the world who understand that there's bad people out there that are going to do bad things. I'm talking to the great and the good people of the world. Let's hold our people accountable for the misdeeds we've done, but let's also give ourselves credit for the big things we've done. And I'll just use the United States, for example. They want to say white privilege. Well, there's black privilege, there's Asian privilege, there's Latino privilege, and there's Native American privilege. There's privilege wherever you go. But privilege doesn't mean anything to me because I'm not privileged. I wasn't raised like that. I was raised where I'm no better than my neighbor. I'm no better than any other girl in this world. We are all created equal. Just because you can articulate, and for those who don't know, that just means that you can form your words in a business-like pattern. Just because you can articulate very well does not make you better than me. Just because I use things like ain't and don't and want to and and yeehaw, don't judge me by that. So I'll end this, and for those of you that don't know me, I have an ending that I usually end any of my things. I have another persona, but this is totally separate. This is Ray Canada speaking to the world. And with that being said, my name is Ray Canada, and I approve this message, and I'm a United States of American citizen. So until we meet again, remember to be kind to one another. Remember to love one another. And until then, till we meet again, peace out, be well, and behave.